Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel.
In the way of directions, we get a sheet on how to tighten and cover, or tighten the covering, because some of it does get loosened up during shipping and whatnot, just heating and cooling and heating and cooling. And our instruction manual is quite thorough. In fact, it's far and above what we actually need here, because this shows a less fully assembled version than what came in the box. This is an almost ready to fly, for example, these servos are all mounted, and all of the hard connections are already run. The horns are glued in place. We do still need to join the wing halves. That's the only thing about this glider that some people might not like, is that it's not a two-piece wing, at least as far as I can tell at the moment. It looks like we epoxy it together, but we'll cross that bridge later. Things like installing the motor. The motor comes installed. So Speedo is already installed. The ESC is in place. We do need to mount a tray for the battery. So there are a few little knickknacks to do, but a lot more is done than you would gather from looking through the manual. So let's get in it. You've already seen the unboxing, so I'm just going to pull everything out. It's time to assemble the kit. See, there's a lot of places where the covering needs to be tightened, but that's no big deal. And they do a very nice job on the color scheme and design. I definitely like this plane a lot. It's a very vivid paint scheme, and they do follow a lot of the practices that I like to follow on mine. For example, the underside of the wing has a different color scheme than above, and it's usually a white on black or black on white. See, same thing here. That makes it very easy to orient the airplane. Now, I normally like a slightly different pattern on one side versus the other side of the wing, but I don't think that's a factor in this case. This is not a small plane like the little glider I showed you recently, the UMX Radian. You see our servos are already in place, the covers are taped on, everything should be pre-adjusted for us. Our wires are already in place. These batteries do not come with the kit. I picked these up myself. I actually got a couple of different ones. I discussed this, I'm sure, during the unboxing. This is a 1300 milliamp battery, as is this. These are longer flight time batteries, and this is an 800. This is more for performance, you know, as much glide time as possible, because, you know, the more weight you add in the form of batteries and motor and everything else, the more you take away from the glider's ability to hang and stay aloft, thermal, etc. But that can also reduce your air time too, because it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you have more battery, you can ascend multiple times. If you have less battery, you can spend more time gliding. So it's relative. I want to get all the tape off of here so I can put this in the recycling bin later. Some of these boxes I do keep around for transporting. For example, this aircraft is not going to lend itself to being transported because the rudder and stab are going to be glued together and then glued to the fuselage. If this was a V-tail that was removable, or a X-tail that was removable, that would be a different story, and I could, you know, put it all in the same box. At the same time, this may not even be a two-piece wing when I'm done. If it's a one-piece wing, it wouldn't fit in the box anyway. If it's a two-piece wing, I could put both these sections in the box and at least transport the wings a little more safely. If you're, you know, going out to the field with multiple gliders, that's a lot of big wings to have in the back of a car. So you have to arrange things so that they don't get damaged. So for the moment, I'm going to set these wings aside. They really are beautifully done. I just thought I'd just show this again. You know, I really like the color scheme. The red, white, and blue with black accents is really nice. Got some silver in there. They did a great job. The covering is very nice. The hinge tape looks like it's really well done. It's on both sides, so we got a nicely seamed hinge here. Going over some of these things and making sure they're, you know, down tight is definitely going to be a task to do. So I'll probably make, I want to check a variety of things like the angle of throw, you know, how, like, for example, there's two holes for this attachment here, this brass fitting to be attached to the horn. As you can see, the bar is right here against the cover. So if I were to move that down, it would give the servo more influence on the horn. So in other words, it would go to more extreme angles for the same amount of servo throw, but it would also get this bar off of here, not actually be pressing against there, and that may be why this hinge seems to be pushing a little bit up right here, because it's flat here, it's flat over here, but right here where the horn is, it's a little raised, and I think that's because this bar is pushing down. So I'll tinker and, you know, just kind of refine things, but you know, overall it's marvelously done. Yeah, same kind of situation where it's right there on the top of the cover. But again, the covering is just outstanding. Yeah, that's on both of these wings, this is the only spot that really needs to be tensioned right here. A little bit right there, but you can barely even see it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the covering on these two items, the rudder and stab. That way it's better to do it now while they're off of the airplane. It's easier to do that. There's our spar, and this may actually be a two-piece setup. I'm gonna have to read the directions there, but this is certainly long enough that you would think this is designed to be two pieces. It's a piece of aluminum sandwiched between two thin pieces of plywood. Let's see. Definitely. Yeah, I don't see why not. I wouldn't glue it together. I mean, it's got holes on either side of the wing, so those will help hold the wing together. And this keeps your dihedral correct. So, definitely going to keep it as a two-piece setup, two-piece wing. These are probably for the tail, or the rear of the wing. And these are probably our wing bolts right here. Let me get a little tray going here. This is actually an old butter dish. The top got broken, and so it got conscripted into duty. This is Velcro for our battery strap. It's like decent props. I'm gonna see what size those are and get a couple of tools for that. Okay, that's for the big nut here on our drive here. These are 5.5 millimeter, just FYI. So I recommend tightening these down until you have a completely smooth action here, but so that it doesn't have sideways jiggle. Now there should be a screw that goes in here. I'm guessing maybe they put it in here. There's 3 screws here. One of them is different. And we're going to want to use a little bit of Loctite on there. Now let's go ahead and pop open the directions. I'm not gonna just guess from, or let's see. As long as we are at this spot. You know what, I'm gonna leave the prop off for right now. It'll be easier to do the other things without this attached. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this in here, just so I know where it is. Okay, our prop is assembled. Not going to need those tools anymore. Okay, so our canopy basically slides forward, lift, and pull back. It's just a rod that goes under there. That could be carbon, or it could be metal, which is what it is. So I'm going to need to solder Dean's connectors onto both of, well, all three of these packs. They have different connectors than what this has, and they have different connectors than what each other have. So easiest thing we'll do will be to put Dean's connectors on all three, which I believe I have. Let me just confirm. I've got plenty. There's 3 female Dean's connectors right there. And I've got heat shrink tubing. And that's actually quite convenient for me because my I've got a variety of different charging cords for different batteries, and Dean's connectors is one of the ones I've already got. So here's 3 female Dean's connectors to plug our batteries into the ESC. So those will get taken care of along the way. So, time to heat up the iron. And this is always a good thing to have. This is a, it's made by Duratrax. There's a million of these out there. It's an infrared thermometer. Basically, you just point this sensor at whatever you want the temperature of. For example, my hand, 89.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see what the iron is doing right now. Iron is currently 128.3 and rising. See, it's very simple, easy to use. This does not have a temperature setting on it, and the knob is not well placed to the gradient here. It starts down here and goes all the way back around to the other side. So that low to high is not even remotely close. So I use that to set my temperature where I need it for the specific type of covering I'm using. And I think, yes, I was pretty sure I had a new sock. I should turn this all the way off right now and put the sock on, because since a sock is a good thing to use when you're tightening existing covering, because you don't have to worry about the sharper edges of the iron catching on anything. And they're easily removed when you're done. I think I see how they intended that to work. The string is supposed to kind of tighten this thing around the edge. There we go. It's been a while since I used one of these. There we go. So, okay. Oh, nice. They use Top Flight Monocoat. It's just one of the best coverings. In fact, that was one of the first iron-on coatings that I ever used forever ago. So 325 Should provide an actual surface temperature on the bottom of the sock covered iron of approximately 280 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's give that a few minutes to level out, and we'll see where that is. I hate to say this, but because I can never leave well enough alone. If you guys haven't noticed that already, almost anything I get, I gotta tinker with it somehow. And what I could do that would take a little weight out of this is replace these metal push rods, which really aren't that heavy, but I could replace them with some plastic Bowden tubing and 1.5 millimeter carbon rods, and that would definitely take weight off the tail end. But this is a pretty hefty front end here with that, that motor is not light by any means, and with the ESC and then a battery in here, I don't think that nose weight is going to be something that really needs to be added. In fact, I'm going to try to set the battery up in such a way that I can move it forward and backwards and adjust the center of gravity with the battery, as opposed to having to add weight if possible. You can't always do that. So let's see. I've got some pretty small battery straps. Those might be short enough. In case you guys are interested in parts numbers on these, it's an E-Flight EFLB 13003 S20. It's a 1300 milliamp 3S battery. And this is an Onyx ONX P8003S30JST. It is an 800 milliamp 3S and 30C. So that is a super easy fit. This also is going to fit just. Now I'm going to suggest something that is a good thing to do with any electric airplane. If you have a failure of your ESC, you lose it all. You lose the motor and you lose your receiver and servos. So your airplane or car is dead. This is a standalone BEC. And what this does is it takes power directly from the battery and converts it to a voltage suitable for your receiver. So this basically cuts the electric speed controller out of the loop and goes directly from the battery to your receiver and powers it by itself. So if your ESC burns out or fails for whatever reason, you're not going to lose control of the aircraft. As long as there's enough battery power to run the BEC, because you could have not enough power for the ESC, but the BEC is still got enough voltage to run, and it'll still be powering your receiver. That's a really nice thing to have, and they're teeny. It weighs nothing. So this can be it's as simple as the electricity goes in this direction. So I'm going to trim these off. I'll probably pop this cap here and solder these directly onto the connections for positive and negative, and then run this wire underneath the servos. Take a little piece of two-sided tape and stick this up against the side, or it can just hang loose. It's not a big deal. In any event, though, that will provide power for the receiver at any time, as long as the battery is plugged in. So good thing to have. Nice safety tip. And especially if you're like, if you want to do glider competitions, if you've got the money for telemetry and you can monitor your battery, great. But still, if you have a failure, you're still toast, and you could have a $3,000 glider heading for the ground with no way to control it whatsoever. Whereas if you use a BEC, and they're higher quality, this is a cheap BEC. There's better BECs out there. Castle makes a very nice one. Some of them are adjustable where you can adjust the amount of output. Right now, this is just set for 5 volts, period. I don't think it has any limitation as to what the input is, but I'll look it up just to be sure. In any event, this is going to make this a safer aircraft as far as not losing it or crashing it.
Do you find these videos to be helpful, useful to you? Then please help me keep this channel going by donating. Click the link up here and you can donate safely through PayPal on either a one-time or a monthly basis, your choice.
So let's see, are we heated up here enough? Well, it's it's 23 degrees below the recommended temperature, but once you press on it, it might be hotter. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and see how this goes as is. And it seems to be heating it up nicely and shrinking it. So I'm going to be happy with that temperature. Just holding this over the edge because I don't want that horn pressing into the table. Sorry if this is going a little off screen. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to bother with the push rod thing. Right off the bat, you should be able to see that there's a round hole here, here, and here. In other words, this whole stabilizer is solid balsa. It's not a series of ribs and some sticks. And likewise, this section is solid balsa as well. It's not even sanded down. If I were trying to make this higher performance, the first thing I would do would be to just build a new tail section out of stick and spar, cover it, and take a bunch of weight off the back end that way. This is solid with the exception of a few holes. Likewise here. So again, these parts could be lightened up pretty dramatically without even swapping out the push rod. So I think I'm just going to build this kit exactly as it is and not mess with it, with the exception of things like the BEC and any other small adjustments I want to make. Okay, we are good to go for the tail section. And as long as the iron is nice and hot, I'm going to go and do the wings. Now, when you have big bubbles like this, don't apply a lot of pressure. Just kind of go gently over it and give them a chance to tighten up, because if you go over them with pressure, chances are you're going to create a crease, and you'll never get that out. You'll always have a wrinkle in the covering, and that's just ugly. And it would be a shame to do that to such a nice covering job that's already done for us. Just heat it up, let it shrink, and then go over it and firm it down. Make sure the glue is adhering. Leading edges are very important. You don't want big bubbles there or creases because that's going to interrupt the airflow across a very important part of the airfoil. Should really go over the entire wing. Get all these areas drum tight. And the underside looks just fine. Okay, one done. So, all covering has been tightened. I'll turn this off now. Oh, I see a little spot on here I want to get while the iron's still hot. Okay, that's done. I'll go ahead and hang on to this page. I'll throw it into the manual.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell icon, you'll receive notifications every time I launch a new video. Thank you for watching.